Hey, what's up, guys? It's Jordan with the Laundromat Resource Podcast. This is show 67. And I'm pumped you're here today because today we're going to talk with Ariana, who owns a couple of laundromats in the San Francisco Bay Area. And this is a super fun conversation. And not only that, but she shares a ton of really great and hard-earned wisdom that she has gained over the last 5 years or so of owning laundromats. This is an awesome conversation. She has a lot of really good input and a lot of really good advice for, anyone looking to build a laundromat from scratch, anyone who owns one or multiple laundromats, or anyone who's looking to buy their very first laundromat. This episode is going to have something pretty much for everybody. So plus, she's a lot of fun to chat with. You're going to really enjoy it. So definitely tune in for this one. A couple quick things before we jump into it with Ariana is number one, she mentions at the end here that there is a webinar next week that she's being a part of. And actually, I just got asked to host this webinar. Super fun. It's with Sense. And they are talking about the gig economy and how that is influencing our industry, the laundromat industry. Super fascinating conversation, interesting stuff happening in that space for us, for the laundromat industry. So definitely join that webinar. The link to that webinar, as well as the link to everything else that we talk about in the show today, is going to be at the show notes, which is laundromatresource.com/show 67 to show 67. Or if you're on YouTube, I'll put all that stuff down below in the description. So make sure you check that out. Man, join us for the webinar. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think we'll be talking to a couple owners about their experience doing pickup and delivery with DoorDash, actually, which since just rolled out. So it's kind of interesting business model. And I'm really curious to hear how their experience has been so far using that. It could be a really cool thing for those of you who want to jump into the pickup and delivery space, but don't want to necessarily jump right into buying a truck and figuring out the logistics and all that stuff. So fascinating. Even if you're not looking to go into that space, it might be a really interesting webinar to jump into and join just to kind of hear what's going on in the industry and what different people are doing to find success. So anyways, that link will be in the show notes, laundromatresource.com/show 67, and also down below if you're on YouTube. So check that out. Couple quick things. Well, here, last thing that I want to say before we jump into it with Ariana. I don't want to take too much time, but I just wanted to say a huge welcome to everybody who's been joining the membership at laundromatresource.com lately. There is a ton of you guys, like a lot have been joining lately. And I haven't really taken the time to just take a second and welcome everybody who's joining over there. Make sure that you go introduce yourself in the new member introduction forums. A lot of cool introductions happening over there. And then jump into the laundromat forums, the commercial real estate or the repair forum. I mean, there's a lot of different forums going on over there. Go join the conversation with other owners. I say this all the time, and I genuinely mean it. We are all better when we're working together, helping each other out. Not only are we going to reach higher heights of success in our businesses, but also we're going to do it a lot faster when we're working together. So head over to the forums, laundromatresource.com/forums, check those out. And again, a huge welcome to all of you guys who have been joining the membership over there. I forgot to check the number, but I mean, it's just been a lot of people joining every day for a while now. So pretty cool. Pretty cool community we got going on here, and just appreciative for all of you guys who are part of it, either as the membership or just listening here on the podcast or watching on YouTube, whatever the case may be. All right, let's jump into it with Ariana, because this is a cool conversation right after this. All right, guys, today's episode is brought to you by Atmosphere TV. You may remember back in episode 34 when Atmosphere TV's Mike Kelly joined me on the podcast. It was an epic episode. If you haven't listened to it, show 34, laundromatresource.com/show 34. Go check it out. It's incredible. A ton of value there. One of the things we talked about is just the importance of creating a good, positive atmosphere in your laundromat. And I was just rereading the book by Simon Sinek, Start With Why. And one of the things that really stands out to me is that people don't make purchase decisions based on, the logic of any decision that they're making to spend their money. It's more based on a feeling and an association. And so it's really important to create a positive feeling, a positive atmosphere, no pun intended, in your laundromat to help people associate this chore that most people don't like doing with something positive. Atmosphere TV is an incredible way to help improve the atmosphere of your laundromat. And basically, if you haven't heard of it, what it is it has 50 plus channels created specifically for businesses with everything from sports clips, hilarious fail videos, draw-dropping videos from all over the world. There's automobile channels. There's a ton of stuff. My kids love it. And my customers love it. Atmosphere TV could be a great way to either supplement your cable, or a lot of us laundromat owners are cutting our cable bill completely and running Atmosphere TV. They're designed to be used with no audio, but they also do have an audio option. That way you can kind of design the atmosphere of your laundromat the way that you want it. So get rid of cable, get rid of those news channels that are bringing negativity into your laundromat, and fill your laundromat with positive videos that bring positive vibes to your customers with Atmosphere TV. And if you use the code word, the keyword, the promo code, promo code resource, then they're going to waive your setup fee. And now everything is going to be free. There's no monthly fee for it. You can use it for free in your laundromat, and it's going to vibe to your atmosphere. So check out atmosphere.tv. I'll put a link down in the description on YouTube or in the show notes. Check it out there. Make sure you use the keyword resource. That way you can get that thing for free. Or if you'd like, email Mike at mike.kelly@atmosphere.tv. Ariana, thank you for coming on the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for being on. I am doing well, although there's construction going on over here. So hopefully it won't be too loud, but we're getting air conditioning into our house finally.
That is
excited about that.
Very important. I'm happy for you.
Thank you. All right. So listen, I am excited to hear about your laundromat ownership experience. I know you own a couple and want to hear about those. But before we jump into them, can you tell us a little bit about you and who you are? And then I want to get into how did you get into this random business?
Yeah, I know. It does feel random at times. My name is Ariana. I live in San Francisco. That's where I have both of my stores. Have been here for about 10 years, but grew up in the Bay Area. So, familiar with the Bay Area generally. And I moved here for college and, never left. And kind of parlay that into how I got into laundry was kind of strange. I actually went to fashion school here in the city, and I studied like retail and branding, like marketing within a retail setting. So it does apply. Sometimes it's still a retail space, but one of the projects that we had to do is create like a sustainable business model. And for some reason, I think probably it was because like I started using laundromats like when I moved to San Francisco. So that was kind of like top of mind. And I figured kind of have to wash your fashion. So maybe there's something there. And so I created just kind of this whole business plan on how you could create like a sustainable, potentially like have like a modern version of what most people kind of experience. And especially for me, like being catapulted into using laundromats, it was like an unclean, unsafe environment. Like a lot of machines were not down. It was unattended. So I was like, how can we make this better? And I went after school, I went on to work in fashion for a bit, but the idea kind of kept tugging at me. And so I thought I'm just going to give it a try. And so I quit my job, and then I actually drove for Lyft for 2 years while I got the money together and built out the space and like all this stuff. So our first location was in the Mission District of San Francisco. And what's cool about that space is that we were the first like brand new laundromat from an infrastructure perspective in San Francisco in like 15 years, which was really cool. A lot of people would like take over existing and then, but we did everything from scratch, which was an incredibly awesome learning experience. I would never do it again, but it was great. So that one's been open about 4 years. And then we just opened the one behind me, which is kind of in like the Western Addition area of San Francisco last October. And yeah, I'm here 5 years later, like, well, seems like 100 years, but here we are.
It hasn't aged you yet, so you're good.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Shortly, I'm sure.
Okay. Very cool story. So first of all, you come out of the fashion industry with marketing and branding, which is, there's some over. I'm looking at you now on Zoom. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that's actually one of your stores, right?
Yeah, I'll duck so you can see.
Yeah, get out of there. Yeah, it looks good. Hey. Super. If you're listening on the podcast, it's super fashionable. So you know that. And then you were driving for a Lyft, right? That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. It like provided the flexibility to be able to like meet with people, check out spaces, work on my business plan. I think I decided to start doing this in 2014, and then the first location opened in 2017. So it took me almost like 3 years on the dot to like get the information, build a business plan, figure out how we were going to make it different. And, the kind of the three core things that I try to focus on is like, how do you make the space different? How do you make the service different? And then how do you make the sustainable options, different? That's kind of how I tried to modernize the experience as much as possible.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I want to get more into that and how you did that in a second.
Yeah.
But, the first thing that jumps out at me is, holy cow, you built from scratch in San Francisco. How did you decide to do that? And then how did you actually do that?
Yeah. Again, not recommended. Sometimes it's kind of good to be naive. Ultimately, like, I needed the space to feel really different, like not like a laundromat. And so that's why I chose a space that wasn't. And then ultimately, like, the whole process from start to finish, as far as like the build out went, was like a year. So it took a really long time because permitting in San Francisco is a challenge. We had to get upgraded like gas service. We had to get upgraded water service, all of which are like not only time consuming, but like very costly. So that's like, again, not recommended. But with that, I got to learn a ton. My dad was actually the GC on the project. So that was like actually a really kind of special time. We got to spend a whole year like working on this thing together. And yeah, I could probably tell you more about plumbing and gas lines than I would ever care to know, but yeah, it's really cool. And I'm definitely proud of it. That is not what we did for the second one. We definitely took over an existing and then cosmetically kind of upgraded what needed to be upgraded.
Yeah, we'll give you an excuse for being naive on the first one. And,
yeah.
Just like a true entrepreneur, you learned your lesson and
big time.
A different route.
Yeah. Yeah. As soon as you see like your bank account hemorrhaging, you're like, I'm not going to do that again. So.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So tell me about this build out period. How, like, what was going on during that time? What was getting the permits like? All that stuff is incredibly difficult to navigate in any city, but when you get into a large metro area, that is quite the chore most often. So tell me a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, it was definitely a full-time job. I was down at City Hall, the building planning department, kind of all the time. We didn't have like enough funds to like hire an expediter or like do anything like that. So I became very familiar. Honestly, probably a lot of it I blacked out because it was like so stressful. But for example, like the water meter, it was interesting actually, because we were so new from an infrastructure.
You ever think you'd say that, by the way? The water meter, it was so.
Oh, I mean, it's, there's a lot of things I never thought I would say. So,
exactly.
So because we were so new, like they didn't know how to calculate our water capacity. The city didn't, like the water department. And because like our machines were really efficient, they were like, we're not sure to give you like a 1/2 inch line, an inch line, a 2-inch, like, so it was like this whole back and forth. And so they finally settled on like a 2-inch water meter line. And like the difference in an inch was something like $35,000 or like something wild. And I remember being like, oh, like, wow, like that's really expensive. And we had to do it. There wasn't really an option not to, but like, that whole process took probably 5-6 months. So from the start of like application to like them cutting up the street, putting in like a new meter. I have so many photos from that day because I was just like astounded that we had managed to make it happen. Like again, costly, time consuming. Then with PG&E, which is what services our gas and electric, there's so many BTUs because we had like a lot of dryers. The existing meter would not hold that capacity. So then like PG&E had to like come and build us like a brand new like meter that took like 7 months. So a lot of the time you're just waiting. I'm sure like the store could have opened a lot sooner, but you have to wait on all these like public services to like, you're just in line with all the rest of them. And then, we had to do change of uses, which is a really big challenge in San Francisco. Community hearings. It was like wild. So I think if there's anything to say on that is if you're just getting into like the industry and thinking of like doing something from scratch, like totally get it. I was there. If you find like a really cool space, like it can be a huge incentive and to do it. Just make sure like what type of utilities you have and how long the permit processing takes.
Or don't know, because if you know, you might not do it.
It's true. Yeah. I know. Sometimes it's just good. Ignorance is bliss, honestly.
That's right. Yeah. Well, until you're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Like, dang, I just bought a $35,000 or more than that 2-inch water line. So now I'm kind of committed.
Yeah. Very committed.
Yeah. Tell me, this year that all this was going on and you're seeing these numbers come across for, how much it's going to cost to put in new meters. And this is like before you even buy machines and do the finishes, like all that, like you see the stuff kind of adding up and you're seeing how long it's taken. Tell me a little bit about like, how are you feeling throughout this process? Are you scared that your business is not going to make enough money, or are you pretty confident about it? Where are you at during this process? Like
1 out of 10 stress level was like 11 at all times. I was very stressed out. I kept thinking like, and we just had to make a lot of compromises and like pivot and adjust. And so like a lot of the money went into the infrastructure and then the utilities. And like, I had to make a lot of compromises on the finishes and how the space looked and everything like that. And, that's just kind of how the cookie crumbled, so to speak. And so it was nice for my second one. I had a little bit more flexibility with that since we were taking over an existing. So we just replaced the equipment and then like added like more cosmetic finishes. So I just was able to do a lot more like what I wanted to do. It was like, there was multiple times where I was like, oh, we're not going to open. Like, there's no way, like we won't have enough money. And we obviously made it happen, but it was a long year.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, and I know a lot of times, so I have an investment group and we partner with investors and we're buying laundromats and real estate. We were looking to build out a store. It was 3,500 square feet and we got hit. This killed our deal dead in the water, but we got hit with an impact fee of $390,000, which just is a fee to say, We give you permission to connect to the water in the sewer. This is before you actually bring in the big water lines and all that stuff. It's just that we say that. So I know a lot of times building from scratch, whether it's different fees or having to do utility upgrades or those kinds of things, can be very cost prohibitive, which is probably why they're part of the reason why there wasn't too many new laundromats.
Yeah, totally. I know. It's like, there's probably a reason for it. I just decided not to see that, but
the reason.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And it's a shame because I know that, like, especially here in San Francisco, there are a lot of laundromats that are being priced out. Right. And then no one wants to build them because the city doesn't really give you an incentive. But like, this is a service that's not a luxury. It's a necessity. And so you need them. And so I'm hoping that the city of San Francisco kind of figures out how to drive people to open more, or to like keep the ones remaining open, or who knows.
Yeah. They do not make it easy.
No. The bigger the city, the worse it is. That's for sure.
That there's a lot of wisdom in that for sure. Okay. So you go through this year of building your laundromat. I mean, all the stress, all the nerves, all the doubts, all the money going out. And, you come time, first of all, like, when did you say, okay, this is actually happening? When did you believe it? Was it before you were actually opening, or was it day of opening? You're like, this is actually happening? Or was there a point in time where you're like, okay, this is going down?
Yeah, I think like the last thing we needed to do, I believe, you need to get like your health and fire signed off. And so I was just like scrambling to like get the inspection taken care of. And when we finally did, it was like, there were probably still a lot of things that needed to be done. I'm sure there were, but again, it was a while ago, and some things I've kind of just decided not to remember, but but I just remember being like, we just have to open because we have to start making money. And we did. We opened, I think, on a Saturday, I want to say. And it was slow moving. It took a while to ramp up. That was like also kind of a surprise because it's a really, that neighborhood specifically was really dense. And but I think what I've learned, and at least in my experience, is that like laundry is very habitual. So like when someone is going to a place to do their laundry, like sometimes changing that habit to try something else can be like intimidating or inconvenient, even if like the service or the experience is better. And so you really have to work hard on capturing those new customers in like a lot of creative ways. Which is a lot of trial and error.
Yeah. So we have a little marketing company over here, Laundromat Resource Marketing, and we're telling clients all the time, like, when you're trying to get new customers, what you're trying to do is break their habit of doing their laundry wherever they're doing it now, or however they're doing it now, and get them to start a new habit of doing it with you. And that is easier said than done. And like you said, sometimes it doesn't even matter if your laundromat is better than the one down the street or the one they go to currently, or even sometimes closer.
Yeah.
They'll still go to the other one because that's what they've done forever, right?
So and they're used to it.
Store.
Yeah.
And so we talk about how, you have to do something dramatic in order to get people to break those habits, right? And so like we had Luke Williford, who him and his brother Lee own, around 40 laundromats, and they have a card system, and they do a huge promotion for like a month or maybe longer even, where, they'll double your money, whatever money you put on the card, they'll double it. Dave, Laundromat Millionaire Men's, he is getting ready to open a store here pretty quick, and he is I think he said he's giving away a month of free wash. It's just something dramatic to snap people out of those habits so that they can experience your store. But you've got to, that's got to be in your budget. You've got to have that planned out pretty well. And there are costs to something like that. But it's tough, like you said.
Yeah. I mean, when we opened the second location, we did like a full weekend of free. We tried to advertise that as much as possible, and we got a pretty good, like a pretty good outcome. Cause you just really, what you're asking for is just for people to try you, even if it's at your cost. It's like, try us. Like, if you don't like it and it's free, then like, I got to fix something. Usually that's not the case, but yeah, just to get people here. But I also find that, even if people know that you're around, like I have this problem too. Like sometimes there's like a restaurant in my neighborhood that's maybe been open like 6-8 months. And I like, go a different way and see that restaurant. And I'm like, oh, like, is this new? And they're like, not really. And you're like, oh God. So, I have tunnel vision sometimes. And like, I'm sure that's the case for laundromats. And, the second one is just under a year old. And I think it's also been helpful now that like the pandemic isn't as intense. We obviously still have problems, but like, I see like a huge shift in like, revenue, like once things kind of opened up in like May, June. So hoping that continues to be the way it goes.
Yeah. I mean, that's been a huge curveball for everybody, right? Not just laundromat owners, but like any business. I mean, everybody really. And so everybody's kind of trying to make adjustments and figure out how to, either weather the storm or even try to thrive in the midst of it, But
yeah, and we're so lucky that, laundromats are deemed an essential business and we got to stay open and everything, but it's still super hard. And, a lot of our commercial accounts, like, we got hit there because they're just not operating. And so it's a trickle down effect. And I'm grateful, like I said, that we got to remain open, but now it's kind of rebuilding the business and getting things back to where it was.
Yeah. So, okay. So, I mean, you went through this whole process of building this laundromat from scratch in a major metro area and survived. Okay. So for me, when I got my first laundromat, I had this horrible experience, lost a lot of money, a lot of heartache, all the stuff, but learned a lot of really important lessons. And ultimately, it's kind of what led me to starting this podcast, doing Laundromat Resource, all the stuff we're doing over there. So I'm curious, you have learned some hard-earned lessons through building, your first laundromat. Do you have any advice for anybody who's either going through that process or who's thinking about it or who's about to go through that process of building a laundromat?
Yeah, for sure. I would say if you have the option to maybe buy an existing, do that first. I mean, for comparison's sake, like first one took a year, second one took 2.5 months to flip. So like that's a huge delta of time that you're saving. So that, and then if you do decide that you want to build from scratch, I would really encourage you to make sure that the utility capacity is there. That's like what's going to suck up your money, like a lot. And then also plumbing is very expensive. I don't know how it is in other places, but San Francisco requires you to use copper for everything and then cast iron for everything. So you can't use like plastic, anything. So like the cost is just pretty astronomical. And so again, all lessons that like were learned, like when it's too late. Yeah. And then, I mean, I'm sure like, I'm not the first one to say this, but just make sure that you have a strong lease and that your terms are good. And, negotiate as low of a rent as you can. Cause, at least for us, like, water is really expensive in San Francisco. So like, that's a high cost for us. And, depending like whether you have attended or unattended stores, like obviously that affects like what your labor is, but like, there can be some like good overhead in this business. So you just want to make sure you're keeping it as low as you possibly can, which, easier said than done sometimes, but, yeah.
You don't have to if you don't want to. I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but can you talk about the lease a little bit? Like, how did you guys negotiate that? Did they give you time to build out or were you paying rent?
Yeah. Like for our most recent one, we asked for I believe it was 3 months free rent while we were doing the build out. I was hoping to like turn it around in like 2 months. And we were pretty much right on schedule, but I just didn't want to be obviously paying while we're fixing it up. Plus you're adding value to to their building, right? Like you're putting in money. So that should kind of be a given, but some people, but that, it took a long time to negotiate. And there was almost a time for the second one where I kind of walked away because I felt like if I wasn't going to get the terms that I thought were appropriate, then like it wouldn't be worth the headache in the future. So luckily, like, we came to a mutually beneficial agreement, but I think the negotiations themselves lasted like 2.5 months. So it was a while.
Yeah. About the same amount of time as the whole build out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, we could have done this a lot sooner, but yeah, I would just say, and then also like, please do have a lawyer review it. Like, don't not pay for that because it'll save you money in the future for sure.
Yeah. There's a saying about that. It's like, I don't skip over dollars to pick up pennies. I don't know. I can't remember what the saying is, but yeah, and I tell people this all the time too. I think that's great advice, right? Like, don't skimp out on a lawyer for the lease. If you're planning on spending thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, don't skimp out on the things that are going to save you, right? So whether that's a lawyer, to look over a lease or a purchase agreement, or even a consultant who can tell you, hey, it's going to be really expensive to build out new because you're going to have to get all new utility things, utility meters and copper piping throughout. If you have somebody to tell you that stuff up front, or, hey, watch out for these red flags if you're buying an existing store from a seller, or here's some of the tricks that sellers try to do to inflate their income or to hide expenses from you, those kinds of things. Like, don't skimp out on those things that are relatively inexpensive that can save you thousands and thousands and sometimes more dollars.
100%. It's so worth it. And sometimes on the occasion, I do consult for some people that are looking to kind of get into it because they're like, okay, let's make sure that we're not making mistakes. And, I hope I can help people not do some of the things that I did and learn from what I learned. And, I found it really challenging to get, information, just like a baseline when I was first interested in the industry, to get a sense of like what machines cost, what like baseline rents were. Like, I just couldn't get a lot of information, and it was a challenge. And I don't really think that should be the case because I think the more people like get into the industry, the more of it's going to evolve and like we'll get more modern and like have just more at our fingertips. And so, yeah, I'm always happy to help if I can.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I love hearing that. I know that about you already because you're on the podcast, you're sharing about your experience and stuff. But I think there's been so long just a culture of not sharing that information or not, being open about some of that stuff that in our industry that, it's always refreshing when there's people who are, in the industry who are saying, hey, here's kind of what I'm looking at baseline rent. Like, you're paying way too much, or they're asking way too much, or or that's a good deal.
Totally. Yeah. No, it's important. If work together. Most of the time, it's a big country. Like, you're probably not in direct competition with, I wouldn't tell all my secrets to like the person directly next to me, but there's some wiggle room there, and so happy to share. I don't know where that was.
Awesome. Okay, so you bought or you built your first one. You said that was like 4 or 5 years ago. What was that?
Yeah, we opened 4 years ago.
4 years ago. And about a year ago, you
opened got
your second one.
Yeah.
What caused you to want to get the second one?
Honestly, I drove by this laundromat and it had been closed for like some time, I think like a couple of years, but I noticed there was a for lease sign on it and it's like 4-minute drive from my house and there's no other laundromats in the vicinity. So I was just like, I'm just going to like call and see like what the rent is. Like, I just wanted to like I was pretty sure I wasn't going to do it. And then,
an alcoholic walking into a bar, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to take or a tattoo, somebody with tattoos walking into a tattoo parlor. I'm not getting one.
Yeah. I just want to check it out.
Talk to my friends and
Yeah. And so I did that. And then I think like pretty soon after I like went in to check out the space, and, it was definitely outdated, but like well kept up. Like, I didn't have to do anything from an infrastructure perspective, which was very nice. And the rent was like very reasonable. And I was the only, I guess they had like a lot of applicants for like different types of uses, like cafe or something like that. But I was the only like applicant that like wanted to like keep it a laundromat. And I think the landlords like wanted to do that if possible. And so, yeah, again, after like 2+ months of negotiation, it ended up working out. And then, yeah, we just, kind of turned it into a laundry. So we have like, card readers, and we can go in into all of that stuff, but like how we kind of modernize the space a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I do want to talk about that in a second. And your whole brand too. I think that's pretty cool. I know that's your background too. So I want to hear about all of that. Okay. But real quick on the second one, how big is it compared to your other one? Is it smaller, bigger, comparable?
So ironically, it's a bigger space, but I have less machines in the second one. A lot of learnings from the first one. So like the first store, for example, we have 5 different size washers. And I felt like there's a size in there that's like too similar to like one of the other ones. And so it was like sort of underutilized. And I think honestly, it was too many options for the customer. So I kind of decided to go like the in and out route for this one, where it was like, you get 3 options, like, small, medium, large. And so the way that kind of formulated it just was less. I think we have 21 washers at our second location and 23 at our first. So not like a huge difference. And then, I think like square footage wise, like the second one is definitely bigger, and this one has an office. So I work out of this one primarily. It's just much easier. But less per square foot, which is ironic. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that worked out.
Yeah. And that's one of the benefits of, kind of getting your foot in the door is you have a lot more, like you said, baselines for things, because you may not have known beforehand that it's a pretty decent deal on rent because you wouldn't have had a baseline for it. Having that second one, you've learned lessons, you learn, put in less options of machine. I mean, all that stuff is, and I think I talk to a lot of people who are nervous to get started because they want to make all the right decisions. And, sometimes you just got to make the best decisions you can, get your foot in the door, and then a lot of opportunities open up for you for learning and also just opportunities in general.
Yeah. The first one is by far the hardest, and I'm sure you can attest to that. You don't know what you don't know. And then you have to make the best decision with the information that you have and hope that it works. And guess what? A lot of times it doesn't. And you just have to pivot and kind of adjust accordingly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, can we talk for a second about your brand? I don't know if you can hear this.
I can hear a little bit. Yeah.
It's crazy loud. It's like right above me. Can we talk a little bit about your brand? Can you tell us what it is and how it kind of came about?
Yeah, I mean, it still kind of stemmed from my school project. The name changed. I think in school it was called Suds and Buds. So we kind of made a departure from that name. But, I wanted it to kind of be like a simple name to the point, I guess. People ask me all the time if it means like laundry in French, but it's just a made up word. And
it's laundry, right?
Laundry. Yeah. And
accent mark over it?
Yeah, like on the E.
Yeah, because it gives it a lot of sophistication.
Like pinkies up a little bit. Yeah. But Yeah, I mean, ultimately, because my experience at laundromats was subpar, I thought there was a lot of room for improvement. It felt like the standard was kind of mediocre. And especially in a city like San Francisco, that's like so innovative. I was actually surprised that there wasn't something better. And so, that was my goal, was just to like try to improve what the model was, or like what I had experienced. I know that's not across the board, but, and so, first of all, like you go into some laundromats, and a lot of the times it's just like not an environment that you want to be in. And so I was like, okay, like how can I change that? And like, I really love design. I love branding. I love, packaging. So I was like, how can I apply those things to like this? And so that's kind of where I started, and just kind of creating like what I wanted the space to feel like, clean and like bright and crisp, and then like sort of playful. So like a lot of our verbiage on like our signage or kind of on our website, like I kind of wanted to be like, not so serious. At the end of the day, you're doing laundry, so it doesn't need to be like super serious business. And so that was kind of step one. And like I said, for the first one, I had to compromise a lot, like aesthetically, because we just wasn't in the budget. And this one, I got to have more fun. I think like for this one, I don't know, you can't really tell, but we got like this really fun tile that like I'm pretty obsessed with. And it just made the space like kind of come a lot live. It's like a blue terrazzo. It's like kind of fun, and but still has like a calm essence about it. So that's where we started. Yeah. With the space, that's kind of like what I wanted to do. And then service wise, like both of our stores are fully attended. We want to make sure like we can like kind of inform customers on like not only how to use the machines or like maybe what to do for a stain, but just like kind of be there as a point of reference. And I do know that's like a huge reason why people come to us, is because like, they can, if they have a question or if something goes wrong or whatever, they can just talk to someone that's there. And I think that the people like start to identify with like the laundry attendants, and like they form a relationship, and it can be really fun. So yeah, both attended. We do fully processing, like we do wash and fold orders and self-service. And then third was like sustainability. It's a business that uses a lot of things, right? Like huge amounts of water. So kind of first order of business was finding washers that like used the least amount of water. So we use Electrolux, and it's been a great brand for us. The maintenance is low, which I appreciate. And has kind of the automatic weighing system. So it kind of saves us a bunch of water, which is great. And then also we provide free soap with every wash. It's like an eco-friendly powder detergent. It encourages people to try something like, eco-friendly. We also know like what's going into our washers, which is really helpful. And then all like we do like alternative bleaches, vinegar, dryer balls. So we try to encourage people to use that versus kind of the more toxic alternatives. And, everyone has a way that they like to do their laundry. So not here to like guilt or shame anybody, but just kind of show them an alternative if they're interested.
Is it, are you giving them like a baggie of powder? Is it automatically?
We like
it's powder, right? So
yeah, it's powder. So
how are you doing that?
We pre-measure them out in like little jars based on what size washer you're using. And then you just like go up to the attendant and they'll give it to you. And then everything else we sell for like $1, like the alternative, like bleach, the oxygen brightener, and like vinegar and stuff like that.
Yeah. You sound very San Francisco right now.
I'm sure.
Everybody in the Midwest is like, oh.
I know. They're like, but Tide.
Yeah, I'm down with it. But seriously, I think that's pretty awesome. And I like, I think a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people who are owning laundromats are looking for ways to use their laundromats for good, right? And so whether that's, improving it so the community has a better experience and helping improve the community, or helping with the environment, or both, ideally, so I think that is a pretty cool way to use a very ordinary chore, right? To tap into being able to do something bigger than just your chore, right? You're, contributing to, being more environmentally friendly and educating people, about all that stuff. So I really love that. So lingerie, I mean, listen, as somebody who is pretty much overflowing with class, I'm going to give that a thumbs up. Okay. And
I can tell. I mean, it's oozing. It's hard not to see it.
You can't tell right now, but I'm like really restraining myself from keeping that pinky up. It's like a snap position.
Just keep it up.
So pretty cool. How are you, if you don't mind me asking, how are you kind of managing all of this? Are you using, you said you're doing like a drop off, like fluff and fold service. Are you using like a software? Tell me about the logistics of how you're putting all that stuff together.
Yeah. So when we opened the second store, we transitioned from our previous kind of laundry POS system to Sense. Fairly new company, but they are doing really cool things, I think. And especially since kind of one of my top priorities is like, keeping things as modern as possible. They've been really helpful. So like they are the POS that we use for all of our wash and fold processing. And excitingly, you're catching me kind of right on the cusp of this, but they just kind of launched a partnership with DoorDash. So we can now offer like on-demand pickup and delivery, which is like huge because we just didn't have the infrastructure to, we're small, like to do like trucks and other drivers, and the logistics of that is like pretty crazy. Right. And like, I applaud the operators that do that because that is a completely secondary type of job. And so it's been really great. It's just launched, but we've seen some pretty great feedback so far and have been able to sign additional commercial accounts, which is like really awesome because that's like revenue that you can count on and it's repeat business. And so before we just didn't have there's a barrier to entry, right? Like no commercial account is going to want to like do a lot of pickup and drop off if it's super consistent. So we weren't really able to get as many as we would have liked. So this is going to be really helpful. But yeah, we use them and then that makes sense.
Yeah, no, awesome. I didn't know that you were actually using kind of the DoorDash integration or had started trying that out. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting model, especially for, I think it gives a lot of operators who don't want to enter into that logistics business, which is pickup and delivery, right?
Yeah.
It gives them a way to expand their radius a little bit using, a third-party driving service for that pickup and delivery. So it basically is still a fluff and fold business for the owner. You're just able to expand your radius. So that's pretty interesting. I'll be interested to see how it continues to play out because I think DoorDash, Uber, Lyft, like all these, kind of gig economy, things are kind of penetrating in all kinds of different places in our society right now. So it's really interesting to see that finger kind of getting into our industry, and I'll be interested to see where it goes from here. But that's pretty cool.
I'm so excited about it. I remember like years ago chatting actually with someone at DoorDash and being like, ooh, you guys should like get into laundry. Like I would love that. And it was just like a very beautiful surprise that Sense did that for us. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Okay. So you lingerie, full class, full style, right? Right on par with me. Side note, nobody has ever called me classy once.
I'll be the first.
Thank you.
So
maybe I should go into your laundromat one time and then see
the comparison. Yeah.
You can kind of judge. Using Sense to manage, that's pretty cool too. Talk to me a little bit about what it's like owning two stores. As you know, you went from building one from scratch to running one to now owning two. Have there been any unique challenges? Has it been pretty much the same You know, what's that been like?
I mean, there are definitely like more challenges. It's more time consuming in the sense that I have to kind of bop back and forth, versus just having to go to one. Employee management can be a bit more challenging because now you're dealing with two schedules, two stores. But there are pros, right? Economies of scale, like you can buy more of one product at a discount, split it up, like stuff like that, like our supplies. But so far so good. Yeah, it's good. I'm happy to have both. Like I feel good about the decision. But it's just like double the work. So
yeah. Are there any plans to,
number 3,
lingerie, like the place to go in San Francisco or the world?
Yeah. It's funny. I'm open to it for sure. I think, like most of us, like the last year, 18 months has been like super wild. I also just had a baby. So like that shifted my focus a bit. And
boy or girl?
Girl. Yeah. So she's still pretty little. So it's like, you got to kind of reprioritize a little bit, but I'm open to it. I'm really curious to see like what happens with our stores in like the next year or two. And then we'll probably make a decision based on that. But I mean, I would be open to it. I think that San Francisco could probably use a few more if I were up for it.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely could use a laundry mogul in there. And so.
Yeah. Let me know when you find one.
But I think I did. I don't know. I mean, I may be talking to one right now. And I just want to ask, like, don't forget us little people.
Oh, yes. No, never. Are you kidding? You're what? Look at this platform. You got it going on.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Great. I mean, not to simultaneously excite you and depress you, but this is probably the pinnacle of your life.
No, I've peaked. It's very obvious. So, okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, I mean, this is so cool to just kind of hear your story and how you got in. And, I want to hear a little bit in just 1 second about your actual businesses. We have a section called Down to Business.
Let's get down to business. Over and out.
Okay.
That's where we just talk a little bit about the business. So you have 2 locations, right?
Mm-hmm.
How far from each other are they?
That's a good question. Maybe 2 miles.
Okay. So
like a 15-minute drive. That's what I know.
Like an hour commute in San Francisco?
No. Yeah. It's like a 15-minute drive. It's not bad at all. And then I live in between them. So it's like I can kind of toggle back and forth.
I'm just throwing this out there. Very San Francisco thing to do would be for you to ride your bike to and from.
Oh yeah, no, I would not trust myself on a bicycle. In fact, I've crashed almost every single time. So I stick to my 4-wheeled vehicle.
That's funny. I crashed on my bike not that long ago. Embarrassingly, I was going straight. There was nobody or nothing else around. I was on a paved road and I just went down.
Oh man, that is brutal. There is nothing like fully falling when you're an adult. Like it doesn't happen very often and it feels very disorienting.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah. And there's shame associated with that.
100%.
I'm just going to put it out there. There is shame associated with that. So,
yeah.
So I'm still trying to recover both physically and emotionally.
Well, it's good that you told everybody about it.
I know it's out there now. And I feel like that's the best way to do it, right? Just put it out there. If you're going to take your cracks, take your cracks. I'll take my bumps and then somebody else will fall.
Yes.
So if somebody out there could do me a solid and fall, that would be awesome. All right. So you've been in the business for about 4 years, maybe a little bit more than that. I'm going to give you extra credit because you've been in the business that whole year for sure that you were building.
For sure. Yeah. I like to say I've been in it for
eternity.
Was it like 7 years? Because that's when I started. And it was like, yeah, you're just learning. I mean, we didn't open till 2017, but before that, it was a lot of work for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the full 7 years worth of credit.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And now you've learned a lot. I feel like you can't really stop at 2. I mean, I feel like there's probably things you need to learn right now. and managing two. But at some point, you're going to get bored with two and be like, this is too easy. I'm like a laundromat.
I don't know what boredom feels like, so I'm excited.
Yeah. This is like too easy. So let me just get like 8 more real quick.
Yeah. I mean, 2, 8, they're all the same. It should be fine.
It's like kids, I mean, you just had, is this your first one that you just had?
Yeah.
You just had the first one. So you can't, let me just tell you as a extremely embarrassingly experienced parent here, with 2 kids that, I mean, once your kid's like 1.5 years, it's pretty much just easy. Like
just autopilot, just like let them go wild. All right, cool. Well, I'm excited for that.
So you might as well I have neighbors right there that have 11 kids. Yeah, it's easy.
11? Is that real?
Yeah, for real. They have 11 kids. They're awesome. They do have 11 kids.
Bless them.
So something to shoot for. 11 laundromats and 11 kids.
Perfect.
I'll have you back on.
Each one can manage a laundromat, so maybe that'll work out.
That's right. You got to have somebody to pass them on to.
Yeah, family business.
So you heard it here first. Ariana,
11 coming your way.
Which would also be an awesome title for a TV show, reality show, 11 laundromats, 11 kids. So
yeah, call it my memoir. It's gonna get wild.
Locked in right now on both.
All right. We'll see how it goes.
Good. I don't know. We're like evolving over here, but in a really good way.
A lot of fun business plans ahead.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit. Like, how much does it cost to do laundry in San Francisco?
I guess that depends on where you go. I think
if you go to the classiest
place in town. So I'll give you this store as an example.
Is this your second one? The one in the back?
My second one. Yeah, okay. Second one. Yeah. So we have 3 size washers. We have like an 18 pounder, a 30 pounder, and a 60 pounder. Our 18 starts at $550, and then our 30 pound is $750, and then our 60 is $12. And so, yeah, I think it was interesting. Similar prices at our other location as well. People were initially kind of had like sticker shock because I don't think that's what they're used to. They're used to like the $2-3 range for like, let's compare it to like an 18 pounder. But ultimately what like I tried to kind of like a sort of like a re-education, I guess, and just like letting them know like why it is that the wash is this much, but like, guess what? Your dry is going to be like probably a third less than what you're used to as well. So kind of at the end of the day, you're spending a comparable amount of money, but hoping it's a better experience for you. That's also free detergent included in that price. We offer free sanitizing on all your washers before you use them. So that like making sure that the drum and the dispensers are cleared out for you. And then, and we have Wi-Fi, we have, fun music.
I'm talking about. It's all about the vibe, man.
Yeah. We try to set up a good vibe. Actually, I think our like sandwich board sign says something about good vibes. So
there you go.
Right on the money.
Look at that. Good vibes. All right. Yeah, that's pretty sounds pretty normal, or like for like a good experience.
Totally.
All right. Well, so I'm assuming because you have wash and fold and you're offering sanitizer and all that stuff, are both of your laundromats fully attended?
Yep, fully attended all times, from 8 to 10 every day.
Has it been like relatively easy making sure you have employees and being able to keep them? Have you had any struggles with that? I know that's a lot of owners have been having problems finding and keeping employees lately. Has that been your experience, or has it been pretty smooth?
I mean, definitely, yes. I mean, I think that's kind of a constant. This industry can have some high turnover for sure. We try to, I want people to enjoy coming to work here. And so we try to like offer like small incentives, like monthly things, or, we do pay like above average because I want to like retain those employees. And then, but yeah, I mean, I think it's like, especially right now, it's like a hard time for everyone. Like the workforce is just weird and, and there's just not a lot of candidates. So yeah, it's definitely a struggle. I like knock on wood, like we have a pretty good team right now. And so I'm very grateful. But yeah, for sure. It's one of the top stressors, as I'm sure it is for other operators, is like finding and keeping good employees.
Yeah. I think it's definitely been a problem. And I think weird is a good word for it.
Yeah.
Has been really weird.
Yeah.
Around.
Super.
You start seeing like the major fast food chains having banners out in front that are like, we're paying $20 an hour.
Totally. I was at FedEx the other day, and they were saying that they were hiring and that they were giving people $1,000 sign-on bonus.
Jeez.
I was like, oh, should I like go work for FedEx?
I think I'm going to put in an application after we get off of this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I just did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone knows now that FedEx is hiring.
Yeah, exactly. FedEx, feel free to send your check to.
Yeah.
And
we are supported by.
Right. This episode is sponsored by McDonald's and FedEx.
Yeah, unfortunately.
If only, man. If only.
Yeah, unfortunately, we cannot offer that, but we tried to offer other good things.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's what it's about. Like you offer what you can offer and then just finding like creative ways to have good vibes. It's a lot of people are working for a boss and not a specific amount, right? So if you are able to run, I was just reading this on Reddit or LinkedIn or something like that, where, there's a saying that basically is like when people quit their job, almost always people quit their bosses, not the job.
Not the job itself.
Quitting their bosses. So if you can provide a good working atmosphere, people are willing to, be able to make a little bit less or not. I'm not saying that you should pay less than you can, but, being able to get a higher quality, higher caliber employee when you really focus on and really work towards having a good working environment.
Yeah, it's important. I think that is something that we do well at, is just making sure people feel comfortable and like coming in. And I work really closely with everyone that works here. So like, I want to have a nice relationship with them too. And so makes my day easier and my life easier. And right now we're really lucky to have a really solid team.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I think I see back there, card system. Is that true? Are you doing card, coin, both, hybrid?
We do both. We have fast card, like CCI card readers. And we still offer coin at both locations. And we don't have like a laundry card system. It's just like use your card directly on the reader. Yeah.
Have you ever timed how long it takes to put 48 quarters in that machine?
A long ass time. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I'm always shocked when people do it. I'm always like, you could just one swipe and you're good to go. But some people prefer the coin. That's fine. But yeah, for the bigger machines, it's pretty wild.
You should do as a promotion. This is free, right here. As a promotion, you should set up a tournament where people use your 60-pound washers with quarters and give the one who puts all the quarters in the fastest a free wash. Do that.
Just reimburse.
Now you're getting people to use your 60-pound washers for only the cost of one wash. I mean, that is genius.
Wow. Good job.
Like a bracket that goes like every Saturday. The bracket gets smaller. There's a
all right.
At the end.
I'll have to see what we can do with that.
I would like an invite to that tournament.
You might have to be like the mediator though.
Oh man. Okay. All right. I'll do that too. I'll mediate that. Be with Bruce Buffer. Let's get ready to rumble.
Yeah. We'll take that. Yeah. As soon as you can come up here and do that, we will definitely do that tournament.
100% in on that. And I am, not only do I not live that far from you, my family all lives right around there. So
great. Perfect.
Up there.
All right. The Jordan Berry 60-pound tournament. That's what we'll call it.
Oh man,
you're committed now. You're committed.
I'm 100% in. I'm going to make T-shirts for all of us.
All right.
Yeah, this is going to be
I'm
great.
excited.
I'm excited. All right. That turned really good, really fast. So talk to me about your specific involvement in the business. Like, how much are you involved? How much are these running kind of on their own? And like, maybe how many hours are you spending like businesses or managing them?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely changed now. I remember when we first opened, I was working like, 16-hour days, like every single day forever. And I'm glad to not have to do that anymore.
Especially with the new baby, right?
Yeah. Like at a certain point, like you just can't, you're like, I have a child to take care of, but, I'm just kind of getting back into the full swing of things after kind of not really taking some time off because you kind of can't, but like taking a little bit of a step back. And I have an incredible manager. So she's been with me for a couple of years and was really helpful during the time I needed off. So really, I think I try to automate as many things as I can, right? Like that's what you want to use technology for. And then, but I would say, I don't know, it fluctuates a little bit, right? Like some weeks are like really wild and I'm like, it's all day, every day. And other days, other weeks, it's a little bit more fluid, but I would say maybe on average, like, how is it 30, 35, maybe? But yeah, it it ebbs and flows. We have like a lot of systems in place now that have been really helpful. And then again, like, my manager has taken some off my plate so like I can kind of focus on more stuff at home or maybe growing the business big picture and not having to do as much day to day, which is not my forte. So, I'm a better big picture lady.
You're just trying to get out of mopping. I know what's coming up.
What?
You're just trying to get out of mopping. I know.
Yeah, it's true. Oh man. I'm a pretty good bathroom cleaner. I'll tell you that much.
Are you? I've got 4 over here. So.
Have to.
Come on down.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, all right, we have another section that I think people who are listening to this have got to be excited about this section if they own a laundromat, because you're doing some really interesting things. You have a really cool kind of business plan that you're working on right now and working out, like it's implemented. But this section is called Secret Sauce.
Listen up, it's the secret sauce.
And this is for current laundromat owners. Do you have maybe something that you're doing that's working really well, or maybe just any tips for other laundromat owners that might help them improve their business?
Yeah. What's worked really well for us is, so we do like a free dry Wednesday every day. And that's actually like one of our busier days.
Free dry Wednesday every day?
Every week is what I meant.
Every day is free dry Wednesday.
Yeah, every day is Wednesday. It might as well be. I don't know the days of the week anymore. So we do it every week. And we've done that from the beginning and then implemented it at the second location too. And it's a very popular day. And so I would encourage you. And the reason I started it is because traditionally Wednesdays are like not great from a revenue perspective for laundromats. So it actually sometimes can beat our Sundays, which is
I've heard
great.
That.
Yeah. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do like a discounted wash and fold rate, like a percentage off. And so that's been really, really great. Again, like traditionally can be slower days. So it makes sure that like our laundry attendants are staying active and busy and processing those orders. And so those two promotions we've done always consistently, never skip it, never stop it. And so people just come to learn that that's the case for those 3 days. And so that's been really helpful for us for sure.
I forgot to ask this earlier, but do you mind sharing how much it costs to do fluff and fold drop off?
Yeah. For a 24-hour turnaround, it's an $180 a pound.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you discount it, how much are you discounting?
It's 15%.
Okay. That's
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I mean, I think that's awesome. Awesome secret sauce. Throwing in some regular promotions during the downtimes to get, more business going those days, but also create some buzz and,
Yeah, definitely word of mouth has been really helpful with those. And we get calls all the time being like, are you guys the ones that do free dry on Wednesdays? I'm like, heck yeah, like come on over.
Come on in.
Yeah. So yeah, that's been actually, more so than I kind of wouldn't have anticipated. I kind of just started it to like get some momentum and never wanted to take it away because it's been pretty good for us.
Can I ask you a quick kind of logistical question about your Free Dry Wednesday?
Yeah.
Do your machines allow you to program in like Wednesday midnight to Wednesday at 3:59 free, or do you have to manually do that with the machines?
We have to manually do it. Technically, like there is a way to do it with Electrolux dryers and then in the fast card, but like every time I've tried to sync it, like the card reader and the machine, like it doesn't quite do it. And so it's probably something that I have to look further into, but it would be great if the hardware would like automatically just like talk to the machine and be like, you don't have to do anything. So yeah, it's manual right now. It just, it's not the best. It's not the worst. It's fine.
Yeah. It's just what you do.
Yeah.
Part of the routine. This is a little bit, I'm kind of pushing the bounds of secret sauce here. I don't know do this, but because your laundromat looks so awesome and you have like a really cool brand, do you have any like, I don't know. So we were talking beforehand and you were saying how a lot of times, people will come in, like maybe owners, like older owners who've owned businesses for a long time will be like, why are you doing these things? And, can you talk to us a little bit about, you've built it really nice. Like the picture in the background looks really nice. But traditionally our business, and I think this is changing pretty dramatically right now, but traditionally our business, people, have got brown tiles and, wood paneling on the wall, flickering lights and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do you have any like design tips or not necessarily design tips, but like atmosphere, vibe tips that usually work well for you that, maybe can spruce up our laundromats?
Yeah, totally. I think, first of all, it doesn't have to be this like huge overhaul. You can do a lot of cosmetic things that like are lower cost and not, they're not going to like hemorrhage from your, like money's not going to hemorrhage from your bank account. So like that is what I try to go towards. Honestly, I think of like and this is probably going to sound a certain way, but like I think of like trying to do like a consistent color story, like kind of have like we focus on a lot of blue, if you can't tell. And like the machines have like the blue, the floor, like the tile over here. And so like it's all pretty consistent in that way, which I think is just really helpful. And then, you can play with that, right? You could do like brighter colors to make it like a really fun environment. You can do calmer colors like we chose, but I think like consistency with colors is really important. I also think that like putting like plants or something that's like, I don't know, something like alive can be like really helpful to just make it feel like.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I didn't cut you off.
No, but just like to make it more, I don't know, like homey and feel like a little bit fresher, less sterile. Maybe that's the way that's the word I'm looking for.
Do you do live plants or do you do fake plants?
Live plants. This one is a ficus, but I killed that one. So we just got a new one this week. And I always try to put ficuses in my stores and I'm like, oh, they're so beautiful, but like they need like a lot of light, and I finally learned my lesson. So we got like I want to say it's like a fig tree, or it's like a tall fig tree, but that just got planted this week. So pray for me that I keep that one alive.
Wait, is it in a pot?
No, we put like it's what do you call when you put a planter? It's a planter box. And there was like a gap in between like the 60 pounders and the 30 pounders. And it's like sizable. And so we built like a proper planter with like drainage and everything. And so that it's in a planter.
You have an indoor planter.
Yeah. Well, it feeds right into like, the pipes for the washer. So all the water just goes out the same way.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
You need you need a skylight above it.
We do. We have one over.
Oh.
Well, it's not above the tree, but it's like right there somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh no, wrong side. This one. Nope. No, it's this way. Sorry, it's flipped. Over there.
Okay, you know now. You know. Yeah. Don't pretend.
We do have one.
Awesome. I mean, I think that's, I think first of all, you did sound very fashion designery. Stay with your color story. And
really just feel what, feels good to you.
Are you telling with your color?
But no, I think that's helpful. And then with, tile, you can, for instance, the first location, I really wanted tile, but we couldn't afford tile. So I got a laminate floor, but that was, I regret now because it's hard to clean, but what I tried to do was create something that would, emulate kind of the same color story and all that stuff, which don't do white for future reference. Try something that has a little bit of color in it, but yeah, there are other materials that you can use that are more cost effective and stuff like that. And then, these lights I got at a pretty decent price. It's just doing the research and finding maybe not getting the designer thing, but getting something that's similar or something like that. It takes a little bit of time, but I mean, I personally enjoy doing it. So it doesn't feel like work in that sense, but always, if anyone has any questions, I'm always happy to help if you'd like.
Don't offer that unless you mean it. We'll do that and people will reach out to you.
Yeah.
I was going to say, just in case you're not like Ariana and me, Ariana and me, and obviously we're very stylish and that.
I think you take the cake, to be honest.
Well, I mean, listen, it's not fair to compare.
I want to make you uncomfortable with the compliments, but come on.
I mean, I do feel uncomfortable, but I understand where it's coming from. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, if you're not that's not your thing necessarily, you can go online Adobe Color. There's a lot of places where you can go find, people like Ariana who are very good at this have put together color schemes together, and they'll be 3, 4, 5 colors together that are going to look good together. And you can go find those and see what you like and use those. You don't have to come up with this on your own. So
totally. I also find that you can't really see them because they're far, but the stickers that show you the instructions for how to use the machine are also kind of branded. And on the Electrolux ones, the directions are they're simple and they're there, but even if you recreated what they had and just put it in a more vibrant color, it's a small thing. It's literally a sticker that I ordered and I just put them on there and it makes everything cohesive. Same with the stickers on the soap dispenser. So it tells you which goes in which, but everything is consistent. And even that I think can be helpful. It's just small things that do not cost a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And those little details are really kind of those are the pinky up things, right? That's what really takes your pinky from here to here.
Yeah, for sure.
Details. And that's what I try to focus on all the time.
I can tell for sure.
Pretty terrible with the details. Okay. That was dare I say it, an epic secret sauce segment. So thank you. And the bar is set very high for the next section, which is pro tips.
Pro tips.
And pro tips is, what advice do you have somebody maybe who is either trying to build or buy their very first laundromat? What tips do you have for them? Don't build. Got it.
Yeah. Avoid at all costs. Honestly, I think this is such a great resource for people. And I wish I had it when I was, starting out. But chat with some different operators, try to chat with them, maybe some in your town, maybe some not in your town, but I think it's helpful just to get other people's experiences to just get a baseline. And then ultimately, I would say, find a place that has good utilities. I know it's not super sexy, but like it's important. And like make sure that you're like really good about like negotiating with your lease. And then, find equipment that you really like. You're going to be with it for a long time. And I feel lucky in that regard. I do really like the brand that we chose, especially from like a maintenance perspective. It's been pretty good to us. But it does take some homework for sure. But I'm sure Jordan or I would be happy to answer questions if anyone needs to. I'm by no means like an expert, but like I've learned a few things and I'm happy to share that.
Dare volunteer me. You
Jordan would be thrilled. His phone number is
that's funny. I was muted because there's construction and I was like, oh, mute.
Oh no, it's okay.
I forgot. No, but seriously, I think that's good and super good advice all the way around. And that the equipment stuff, it's interesting because there are nuances, within the different equipment. So trying to figure out what it is that you're looking for, what it is that you need, and what equipment is going to best suit those needs is really important. So get a hold of Ariana and
yeah, I'm basically your new distributor. Hello.
Well, listen, Ariana, this has been awesome. This has been very, very cool to hear your story, but also get all these awesome tips and awesome advice. Thank you so much for coming on. I have one more question.
Okay.
So there's so much construction happening right now. Before I have a question for you, I just want to let everybody know you're actually going to be on a webinar next week, which is August 24th, right? I think.
Yes, next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, which is at 1 p.m. Pacific time. If you're on the Beast Coast, that's 4 p.m. If you're somewhere in the middle, you got to do the math yourself.
Yeah, no one knows.
Yeah. But 1 o'clock, August 24th. I'll put a link to it down below because can you tell us just a little bit about what you're going to be talking about?
Yeah, we're going to be chatting about like the gig economy within laundry and kind of how that's, I think revolutionizing like a lot of things for operators. We, touched on it a little bit during our conversation. But I think it's really going to help like kind of catapult the industry, I think. And then, it'll be me along with Waleed, who owns and operates in New York. And you'll be the host, mediator. What would you call yourself?
Master of ceremonies?
Yes, I would agree. I think that is accurate.
Yeah.
But we're really excited. I'm excited to chat and I think it'll be cool. So if people are around and would love to hear, like we'll be doing that at 1 p.m. on the 24th.
On the 24th. Which I just realized coincidentally is my half birthday. So that's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big day. Yeah.
All right. We'll have to do something really special that day.
Really special.
Yeah.
All right. No, but seriously, I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm glad that we got to do this podcast episode.
Yeah. Thank you.
Which is so cool. Plus, now I know you a little bit, so I don't have any qualms about throwing you very difficult curveballs.
All right. Great. Yeah. Come Tuesday. I'm really in for it.
It's going to be why to come here, Ariana, get down, put it on the spot. No, but seriously, we'll be talking about, gig economy and how that's, how that's going to be influencing our industry and, how maybe some of us can take advantage of it or look into that at least. So looking forward to that. August 24th, 1 o'clock Pacific time, Best Coast time, also known as, and 4 o'clock Beast Coast time. And again, it will be in the show notes or down below if you're on YouTube. Last question, finally, for you. If people really want to talk to you about equipment and maybe whatever else too. But seriously, if people want to get a hold of you, maybe ask you questions, hear about your experience a little bit more, come check out Laundry or whatever. What's the best way they can get a hold of you?
So I know this is going to sound like, I don't know, but it's like too standard, but like I read all of them, but, our website has like a contact form, and it's directed to my email, and I respond to those. So yeah, feel free.
And I'll link that in the show notes, and on YouTube, I'll link that down below. And basically what I'm taking away from this is that you are kind of a big deal.
No, I don't think so.
Proper channels.
You're misinformed.
When you talk to people who are a big deal. Future laundromat mogul of San Francisco. Yeah. Ariana, thank you so much for being a great sport and giving you a hard time, but also just sharing your story and sharing a lot of hard-earned wisdom about this business. Really, really appreciate it. I know I have a lot to take away from personally, and I know a lot of other people will. And even if you guys don't have questions about machines, give her a call anyways and ask her questions about machines. She really knows what she's talking about.
As many questions. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Seriously,
thank you so much for having me. Yeah. Thank you. This is great. I'll see you next week.
All right. That was an awesome conversation with Ariana. We hung up and I was like, how do you feel about it? Did you have some fun doing it? And I think we both had a lot of fun doing that interview. Hopefully that came through, but even more important than that, hopefully you gained a lot of wisdom out of that, a lot of new knowledge, a different way of thinking about some things. And again, I say this every week, but none of that means anything unless you start taking some action towards something. So this week, as in every previous week and every week going forward, pick one thing from this podcast episode that you are going to put into action. So no matter where you're at on the journey, just pick one thing and put it into action. That way, as we're doing that every single week, we're taking action, and that action is what leads us to success. Learning is great and all. Hearing people's stories is great and all, but it's only step one. And the next step, which is taking that action, is the thing that really propels us forward towards our goal. So pick something, put it into action this week. Maybe share about it on the forums, laundromatresource.com/forums, and let us know what action you're taking this week. For me personally, one of the things that I loved talking about, actually, which is kind of surprising to myself, but one of the things I love talking about was just, the aesthetics of her laundromats and how she, designed it. We talked a little bit about that in the secret sauce. And, for me, I think I'm going to, next time I head over to my laundromats, I'm going to just kind of take a couple minutes to step back and look again at my laundromats and see, are there ways that I can improve, the look, the feel, and the vibe of my laundromats, by making some tweaks. So that is my action step. What is your action step? Let us know over on the forums, and we will see you again next week. Don't forget, webinar August 24th from 1 o'clock Pacific time, 4 o'clock Eastern time. So make sure you join that. Link is in the description down below if you're on YouTube, or at laundromatresource.com/show64. All right. We'll see you next week on the podcast. And until then, we'll see you on the forums or in a webinar or something. We'll see you around. All right. Peace.